Hey, welcome back, everybody. Man, do we have a guest today? And I happen to be on his podcast a while back. I can't remember the date. It's been probably a couple months now, don't you think, Rory?
Yeah, a couple months. I think, back in March.
And we had such a great dialogue. I invited him to be on my podcast. And Rory, thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with me on my podcast.
Of course, Peter. We come from the same improv guru. So anybody who works with Jay Succo is a friend of mine. And so I am honored that you've invited me on your podcast to talk about all things improv and accounting and advisory.
Now, before we go any further, when you say Jay Succo's name, recently you've been adding a tagline to it. So I'm not going to steal that from you.
He is the Ted Lasso of improv. Don't you agree, Peter?
I love it. He
is just a positive influence. Everything is just positive, happy-go-lucky. He teaches improv in that way. Yeah. But we don't go blue, and we call it blue in improv, and go dark. We just talk about, the great things in life. He's just a phenomenal human being.
I think he needs to grow the mustache.
I think he does.
I think he needs to grow the mustache. We'll put it out there to him about growing the mustache so he can be the Ted Lasso of the improv world.
Yes.
So speaking of improv, and you said the word accounting, and you're a finance accounting guy.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in improv?
Oh my gosh, this is a sad story.
Oh.
I think everybody has those moments in their childhood where they get extremely embarrassed. And this moment happened to me in the 8th grade, Peter. I was trying out for ASB president, which is Associated Student Body. And I was supposed to give a speech, and I'm preparing for a speech, giving them all the things I'm going to do for the class. And my brother, who is a junior in high school at the time, says, "Rory, I got some ideas for you." And just to give you some context, Peter, my brother, I looked up to him. He was, a Christ-like figure in my eyes. And he was a thespian. He was an actor. And he was going out for Jesus in Godspell as a junior at the high school. And to tell you how, to kind of give you an idea how talented my brother is, at the same high school was 2 other currently famous people. One is America's Father, Milo Ventimiglia. He's on This Is Us. He's been on Heroes and a number of Gilmore Girls, a number of other shows and films. He was a senior in the class going out for the same role, Jesus in Godspell. And then the sophomore in that class was Mikey Day. He's on that Netflix show, Is It Cake? He's also the lead writer on SNL. He plays Don Jr. On SNL. Very talented comedic guy. So those are the 3 people going out for the role of Jesus in Godspell. And my brother gets the role. So I'm unbelievable, right? My brother gets the role. And he goes, "Rory, we're going to have you go on stage for your 8th grade ASB speech." And he says, "I want you to sing Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You." I said, "What?" And my brother's also in an 80s cover band. He's a phenomenal singer. Yeah. He sells out the House of Blues in Southern California, 2,000 people. He's the lead singer. It looks like Dee Snider. He wears tights and everything. I said, "You've got to be kidding me." He said, "No, you're going to do this. The crowd's going to love it." So Peter, I go on stage and I start singing, "If I could stay." I can't sing a lick. And all of a sudden the kids start booing. And I start crying, turn red-faced, and I run off the stage. And for 20 years, Peter, I could not speak in public until about 6 years ago. I took an improv 101 class at the West Side Comedy Theater in Santa Monica. And I said, I got to get over this fear of public speaking. And I took the 101 class, and I was horrible at improv. I'm still not the greatest, but I took the class. And I took the 6 levels in total, and I became an improviser. And I perform on stages throughout Los Angeles, and I just love it. I think that it is a tremendous tool that you can apply life and business principles to excel as a person.
Wow, I mean, geez, that's a heck of a story. Now, I have to ask this question. Being an older brother, did he mean to do that to be mean to you?
No, he thought that was a great idea. He thought that would be funny, that would be fun, it would be lighthearted, your kids will like it. Yeah. He feels bad. To this day, he hears that story, he feels so bad. He's the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like a Ted Lasso of a brother. He's just super positive, but he didn't know. He realized that. And he didn't know how much it affected me either until I told the story later on when I started doing improv. And Milo and Mikey, who I went to Saturday Night Live and actually went backstage, and that was quite an experience. Mikey was there, and I told Mikey the story, and he goes, "No way, man, no way." So that's my improv origin story, Peter.
But okay, so you force yourself to become a better professional speaker, be a public speaker.
Yes.
Right. And you got into something really uncomfortable into an, I mean, just even if you didn't have that and you walk into an improv class with all this, this fear, this anxiety that goes on. So your level of anxiety is tenfold. But what was it that kept you to take 6 level? I mean, that's the story right there.
Oh, I'm a glutton for punishment. I think what it is, Peter. I like punishment. I like to punish myself. You know what? No, it's like anything in life. One thing, just one step after the other. Yeah, I had a fear going to this level too, because you had to start doing characters and stuff like that. I'm a horrible character improviser. I'm bad at accents. I can't do an Australian accent. I can't do a British accent, but that's also what makes it fun on stage, is trying to do an accent and being poor at it. So, each level I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. Wait, no, for my own personal development, I need to push forward and push through and continue to do this. And never in a million years, Peter, did I think I would be talking to you on a podcast. Did I think I've had a podcast of my own? I've been fortunate to interview some phenomenal guests. We've had on economists from Vanguard. I've interviewed people from Fortune Magazine to the Wall Street Journal to Forbes. I've interviewed thought leaders in the accounting profession as well as the wealth management profession. I'd never thought in a million years I'd have a podcast and being able to speak with, titans in the professions. And so I credit all that to taking improv and pushing through those barriers that you don't think you can push through.
God, I hear Suko's voice in my head right now. And this is what Jay would say. You leaned into the fear.
Yeah.
And that's what improvisers do. They lean into the fear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree. And I think, what's that Ted Lasso line? Something along the lines of like, if you're taking on a challenge, it's like riding a horse. If you're comfortable doing it, you're probably not doing it right. So
Right.
Lean into that fear, lean into that uncomfortable. What makes you scared, go to that.
So when you decided to jump into improv, were you in college? Were you out of college? Were you?
Yeah, this was in my mid 30s. So this was 20 years or so.
No.
More than that. No, 20 years since 8th grade. Yeah, 20. I'm 40.
40.
Peter,
Okay.
I'm 40.
Yeah, I feel, folks, if you watch the video, you take one look at it and go, man, he's well kept. I mean, seriously, does not look 40 at all.
Oh, thank you, Peter. I appreciate it.
So it was later in life that you decided to get into it. I hear that a lot. Actually, I for the most part I was in grad school trying to be a stand-up comic. Wasn't really good at it, but I learned how to speak to accounting audiences because it's like the same thing. It's like crickets. But then somebody took me to an improv class, so I had to be probably around the same age. God, when I fell in love with improv and just saw everything that it's useful for, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing today. Same thing you said, if it hadn't been for that. So if someone asked you, what's the one thing you always remember about improv and try to apply every single day? And I know this is a tough question.
God, there's so many good. There's so much meat there. Oh my gosh. I think the active listening.
What'd you say?
The active listening and dropping that ego, Peter, and not having an agenda and really listening to the last words that are said. I would have problems going on stage because I would have an agenda. I would have a whole scene played out in my head, and I would go on stage and my partner or teammate would look at me like a deer in headlights. So we apply this we have a family office here. I'm a director at Arrowroot Family Office. We advise clients through holistic wealth management services, family office services. We have a program that's educating accountants and CPAs out there on how to adopt our family office model, or holistic wealth management, future facing advice. And I always tell people we're working with, firms out there, CPAs, that actively listening is huge, because you really can find out what a person's wants and needs are. And you should be speaking 10% of the time, maybe 15% of the time. It's asking those questions to finding out where they are. I'm a big believer in the platinum rule. There's the golden rule: do unto others as you would want done unto you. I'm a big believer in the platinum rule: do unto others as they would want done to them. So getting someone to where they want to be. I read a great book. This is the other thing that changed my life. It's a book by Mark Golston. He's a UCLA psychologist, and it's called Real Influence. And he talks about getting to someone's there. And it's really empathy. And improv is really empathy in the end. You're trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So it's finding out, where they are in life, find out where they want to be, and then helping them get to where they want to be. And that's real influence. And we try to apply that into our practice and how we deal with our accounting firms and how we deal with our clients, is find out really where they want to be, do that investigation, and you can provide proper advice to set them up for success.
That's key, active listening. Actually, I think it's Alan Aldo is quoted on this. Listening is the willingness to change.
Yes.
Excuse me. Real listening is the willingness to change. If you're not willing to change, then all you're having is a dueling monologue. And we see that played out every day.
I agree. There's two talking heads, right?
Yeah, because of the ego, because
Yes.
of the agenda, because of conscious and unconscious biases. And it is really hard to put those aside. Excuse me, that's another dollar goes into the jar. And if you can do that, it's amazing what you can learn about the other person.
Yes.
It's amazing. I don't know if this happens to you. It probably does. People who I know will just come up to me and start telling me stuff. And when they're done, I don't know why I told you that. Well, I know you why, because you know me. You know I'm a good listener. I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm going to let you go and talk, and then chime in, and then talk, and then chime in, but not carry an agenda or a flag or whatever, and just be an authentic listener and an active listener.
Be an active listener.
You get the same thing from your clients. You get the same thing from people around you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think what is important to Peter, I lost my train of thought. 1 second.
It's okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think really where true influence happens is people just want to be heard, and they want to be understood. And so if you can listen to somebody with no biases, no ego, and have them feel understood, it's Maya Angelou's famous quote, right? If you don't care how much you know, it's only how much you care, right? So I think that active listening goes far in life, not just in business, in life, in making people feel understood, listened to. And then from there, you can provide, some type of feedback or add to, give you a yes and to a conversation. But coming in and providing maybe unsolicited advice is never the smart thing to do. Listen first, actively listen first.
If we could only get 10% of the population, I will just say in the United States,
Yeah,
to become better active listeners, maybe would catch on. I think this is the one thing that I think it becomes frustrating for us, because we are such good active listeners, and we can tell when someone's not listening. We can tell whether I'm on a Zoom call, we're speaking face to face or whatever. We can tell that they're not engaged in the conversation, whatever be the reason. And because of that body language.
yes.
And being, an improviser sees a lot more than other people see.
Yes.
I believe wholeheartedly that we see things that in experiences that other people may be too tunnel vision to see. And we see all this stuff.
Yeah. So in improv, we have the back line where that's the improvisers along the wall, and they're not part of the scene. And you can see when an improviser has a good idea or wants to interject and they have a problem, they'll lean forward. That body language, lean forward. Or when you're in a scene with a teammate or a partner, you can see their body language. They'll be attentively leaning. I'm literally leaning forward into the screen to Peter right now because I'm actively listening and giving them the next best idea. But you can tell when something's not hitting with someone, they'll pull back. like this. And that's in life, in any conversation, right? So that body language is someone coming in and meeting you? Is it moving forward, or are they moving backwards in a way?
And I never thought about this until I got into improv, and the more I started learning more about it, I started seeing that stuff. I started learning more about other people's body language.
Yeah.
And I can tell when they're nervous. I can tell when they're confident. I can tell when, they're confused right now. I can tell when they want to leave.
Yeah.
We get the heck out. And someone would
Cool. They get their feet are halfway out the door.
Absolutely. I mean, their feet are pointed one way or the other, not pointed at you. The little body language. Just look down real quick, check out their feet,
Right.
and if they're like this, they don't care. They just want to run.
Yes.
If it's in that D shape, and those skills come in play in our worlds of business. I mean, it's the edge up that we have.
Yeah.
And it sets our businesses apart from others. I mean, how long have you been in this business?
I mean, I've been doing tax accounting and for 15 years. Wealth management's been a recent endeavor of mine. I fell in love with this family office and this model, and being able to provide clients with holistic advice. So not just tax, accounting, or financial planning, or insurance planning, or estate planning, but really being able to look at their full picture. And I'm a big believer in technology, Peter. I love technology. I love innovation. I love new ways of thinking. That's probably why I like improv, because I get to come up with new ways of thinking. So I love helping out clients, looking at their situation in a holistic viewpoint, and then being able to provide the right advice, pulling the different levers of the different services we can provide to families and clients, and then setting them up for success in the future. I mean, I love to talk about this because this is something I'm currently passionate about, Peter. We have a program that is promoting diversity, equity, inclusion through financial literacy. We believe that providing financial literacy to the next generation is vitally important to our society. We are doing these kids a disservice by not educating them on the foundations of finance. 7 states only, Peter, only 7 require personal finance courses to graduate. We don't talk about finance. I mean, you may have, Peter, because you're a great guy, but do you talk to your kids or the next generation about financial topics like the rule of 72 or compound interest?
I try to. I've tried to work with my son with it, but then again, I'm dad.
Yeah.
So as a member of the House Society of CPAs, we had a foundation, and that was part of our focus. And that was the reason why I joined the foundation of the society, because of financial literacy issues. Because I agree 2000% with what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's been taboo. We haven't talked about this in the home, and kids who have financially illiterate parents or role models, they're set behind. So, we got to do a better job of providing kids with the foundation of financial literacy so we can set them up for success in the future. So we have teamed up with technologies to help kids learn about financial literacy in an interesting and fun way. I had Tanya Van Court on my podcast. She has an app called Goal Setter, and she's promoting financial literacy through memes, GIFs, and pop cultures. If you're driving right now, don't do it. But if you have your cell phone, I want you to go to an app store and download Goal Setter. I mean, you could download any financial literacy apps. You can put in the search bar financial literacy. So go to your Google or Apple app store. I'm impartial to this Goal Setter app. She's a female African-American FinTech founder, and she's promoting financial literacy through memes and pop culture and GIFs. So she's talking about the rule of 72. She's talking about inflation through Chance the Rapper, a song like that. So every week, kids get a 10 question financial literacy quiz before they can unlock their allowance for the week. So it's these type of innovative ways to reach kids with engaging content that we can help, set them up for a better future. And especially reaching those kids in underserved communities that may not have those role models that are financially literate, or they're not in states or places where they're getting educated about personal finance.
I love the idea, and I'm going to download it as soon as we finish. I think one of the issues is, because you said it's a bit taboo to talk about this, and there's a lot of people who just don't get numbers.
Yes,
and that's fine. I mean, there's some stuff I don't get, and that's fine.
Right.
However, there's got to be a way that at least we can start with a foundation and make it to a point that most people blank out. How do we make how do we make financial literacy fun and engaging
Yes.
to all ages, but especially to kids, because
kids.
that's our starting point.
And that's the beauty of what I believe Goal Setter, if you download it, I mean, using memes, using pop culture. I mean, she has stakeholders, Chris Paul from the NBA, Kevin Durant from the NBA, Anthony Anderson from the show Blackish are promoting this financial literacy to the community. And so I think she's doing it she's gamified the experience. She has a background at ESPN, at Discovery, and Nickelodeon. So she's making this content fun and engaging. I mean, we're sitting in literally in a technological revolution. These devices, Peter, these digital devices we're able to reach the masses now. But we're in the attention economy. So we got to make things engaging, especially for kids. They're inundated with information. There's so many different apps, TikTok, Instagram, all those apps. So we got to try to set up an environment and make this content engaging so they can start understanding at least these concepts, like what a credit card is, what compound interest is, what a car loan is, right? How to file taxes. We're just not taught that in school. So and those are real world topics that we need to apply so we can set up ourselves up for success.
Yeah, I just had a conversation the other day. My son's talking about getting a credit card, and I said, please don't take me wrong. You're not ready for a credit card. Well, I got this great credit score. I said, you get the great credit score because your mother co-signed for that car loan. You keep making those payments on time.
Yeah.
Don't be late. And that's step one. Step two, when you get a job, a real job, a paying job with benefits, then you can start considering getting a credit card. But credit cards can be very, very dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, I remember my first credit card, I got a free t-shirt out of it, but that 30% APR crushed me in college.
Yeah.
And I never wore that t-shirt. I think technology is advancing far enough. We have peer-to-peer payments. We have robo advice. We have entertainment and edutainment that we can get on these phones. So I think we need to set this up for good. Now there's people like Tanya Van Court out there. Charles Schwab has an app that's teaching financial literacy. There's another app called Zogo. So we need to start using these applications, these technologies, and create the environment for kids to learn in. And then they need that encouragement from the families. We need to talk about this at home, in our community at large, and those of influences, those professional athletes, those celebrities, to also promote financial wellness to the younger generation.
So what are you and your organization doing? Obviously, you're promoting the app and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you guys holding like seminars or workshops?
Well, I'm speaking at the Accounting Webb conference here shortly in a couple of weeks, talking about this initiative, DE&I through financial literacy and its importance. And then we're helping raise money to get Fortune 1000 companies who are donating stock to put 1 million kids in underserved communities on a pathway to financial freedom, giving them actual stock that can be in their account, and utilizing this app called Goal Setter so that they can start learning these foundational principles of finance.
That's awesome, man. I kid you not. When we first started financial literacy at the foundation, and this is back in the early 2000s, we had this thing called Accounting for Kids Day. It was a board game.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much more of a finance game for these kids, and the developer made it really fun.
Yeah.
And then actually one Christmas, family came over and their daughter was young. And I said, so what are you up to these days? She goes, oh, I'm learning all about finance.
Yeah.
I said, about buying stock. I said, really, where? Oh, this Accounting for Kids Day thing. Mm-hmm. And now she's a grown woman who has a husband, no children right now, but she still remembers that story.
Yeah.
And it had an impact on her.
Had an impact. You're changing the trajectory of people's lives, especially these kids. So if we can do that and utilize technology and education in an entertaining way to reach them, we can help change their lives. This is why I'm so excited about this, because I can see where technology is, and I can see that the impact that we can have in kids' lives. We just need to get this in more kids' hands so we can set them up for success.
Yeah, I wish you would bring a little passion to this conversation. You kind of deadpanned me. Obviously, that's clearly sarcasm on my behalf. But it's that passion that fuels us.
Yes.
And I think you said that when you were taking improv, you didn't do well in character development. However, unbeknownst to you, you have created this character albeit you, but it's that
Yeah.
extra passion
Yeah.
around that it's Rory volume 2 or point 2 or whatever, because we all kind of take on a different persona.
Yeah.
When we find that passion
That passion.
And I think you've got another passion. You've already said it early on, is you're there to serve. You're there to serve your clients.
Yeah.
You know, you said you get a accounting and tax background. But you know, most people go, I went into accounting because I'm really good with numbers. That's not the reason to go into accounting.
Yeah.
Finance.
You're trying to help people's lives.
Bingo. You're trying to help people's lives. And
Yeah.
if you can understand that in college, and that's your goal when you get out,
Yes.
and have that mindset, that's what the profession needs.
Yeah, that's the servant mindset. And this is why I believe in so passionately also about providing clients with holistic financial advice. So not just that backwards facing the compliance work. We need to look at those numbers, and we need to utilize technology to be able to set someone up with an estate plan, right? Or a guardianship. Think about all your clients who have kids who don't have a will. There's wills now you can get for $160 online. There's Trust and Wills, one of our partners. We talk about them. We're passionate about their product. It's such a great product. You can get someone a will for $160. Set their kids up for it. So if something happened to them, make sure they have the proper guardians. There's end of life wishes. There's healthcare directions. You can do an estate plan for $600. So setting up someone's family in case of emergency, that's what we believe in, this family office model. So it's not just about financials and financial planning. It's insurance, protecting the family, doing an estate plan, protecting the family in case something happens. So I'm really passionate about this future facing advice. And I believe the CPAs and the accountants out there, those listening, are really the advisors of the future. They are the most trusted advisor. They have all the data. There's some just best practices, some technology implementations away from providing future facing holistic advice to clients.
And being articulate.
Yes.
When they advise. I mean, there's some CPAs who are not as articulate, and they use the 50-cent words, and they can see their audience gleaming over, versus those who are articulate, who can speak clearly and concisely about something, those who have passion and want to move the needle.
Yeah.
And it's a learned skill. Remember, Roy didn't want to do any public speaking.
I did that.
He did not.
Not going to do it.
And he took it upon himself to put himself, because knowing that if you're articulate, that's a bigger piece in dealing with clients than just doing accounting and tax information.
Yeah. But I think CPAs and accountants out there, I don't think they give themselves enough credit, Peter. They just went through Navy SEAL training of changes with the PPP loan, with the EIDL, with the ERC. They are advisors. They deal with constant change. What other profession has to deal with this level of change? Every 4 years, a new administration comes in and changes the tax code. They are advisors. They just need to believe in themselves. They're just some few best practices away from being able to provide this advice to clients. And look, I tell those firms out there, and the people we work with, look, technology is advanced far enough. I know technology scares some people, but you have a full workforce of admin, compliance, analysts, 20 analysts that would be in the cubes right before, now in the form of technology that takes care of all of that. You're just inputting some data, and there's beautiful one-page reports that simplifies everything. You can provide that to a client and make sure that they're set up with an estate plan, insurance plan, financial plan. Even if you're in debt, right? Even if you're in debt, you should have a plan to get out of debt, and making sure you understand exactly where all your finances are going. That's important. So it's not only for those who have wealth, it's those who are wealth seeking and that need to have their debt managed so they can have a better life for their family.
Absolutely. And as you're describing that, about every 4 years got a new administration. You know, I tell everybody, if you don't think you're an improviser, you just went through the greatest improvised exercise called the pandemic.
The pandemic. Right.
Right. The pandemic. But accountants are really improvisers because they have to deal with constant law changes.
Constant law changes.
Standards change. And you've given me an idea, a different way of kind of approaching it with accountants that I can get people to understand they're improvisers.
Yeah. They improvise at least every 4 years,
Right.
but every year they're improvising.
But I want them to think strategically
Yes.
about it. Not just because I can navigate and adapt to different situations. How do I do it strategically in order to get the most from my client, in order to get the most from the organization, my family,
Yes.
and the community?
Yes. I wholeheartedly agree. And I understand it's the need to be right. You're doing tax returns, you do accounting, you need to get those numbers right. But for like the good thing about financial advisors are we don't necessarily need to be right. Like we have a plan in place.
Right.
There's risk portfolios, and it's okay if we're not, right on. You're off a little bit, but it's making sure they have a plan and being empathetic and communicating that plan. This is the reason why you're in this portfolio. And like I said, there's so many great softwares out there that do the work for you. And you have that now. That's why our program and what we talk about is we're at a point in time where this wasn't available 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago because technology hadn't advanced far enough. There's some great venture-backed technologies that we partner with, betterments of the world, that are now able to provide that compliance level service within a technology.
But let me just change the topic a little bit. Do you have any spare time? And if you do, what do you do in your spare time?
Oh my goodness. I love sports, Peter. I'm a big Rams fan, so I'm super excited we won the Super Bowl. I go to obviously do improv. I love comedy shows. But yeah, no, I'm passionate about what I do. We have so many initiatives and programs that we're working on, and I love it. But if anything, I just like to sit down and watch some basketball or some football or some baseball.
We do have that in common, and with the NBA playoffs right now, that's keeping me busy at night. And yeah, I'm kind of a little bit too much of a sports junkie. I was very under average in playing all the sports, but that's kind of my relaxation is watching other people play at a level that I never attained to.
Yeah. My sister she won a national title for softball at UCLA.
Oh, wow.
So she was the athlete of the family. My brother was the singer performer.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a little bit of a mixture of both. I got a podcast and I'm actually a pretty good athlete. I look good. If you shoot a movie, I actually look really good playing sports. But yeah, so I'm an okay athlete.
Play golf.
Yeah, I play golf. I do.
What's your?
Well, not very well. I was at one time a 6.
Okay.
We're probably triple that now, Peter.
Yeah, well, my handicap's my swing, so we can just leave it at that. Well, Rory, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. This has been a fascinating conversation. We will post this on our show notes. We'll post about Goal Setter. Download that app. Go do it.
Yes, do it. Download it. Get with your family. I mean, those kids will start, doing their chores more, and you'll teach them about financial literacy. I download it now. I couldn't advise more.
And what's the woman's name who started this?
Tanya Van Court.
Tanya Van Court. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Well, it's a pleasure having this conversation with you. We have to talk to the Improv Ted Lasso and pitch him the idea. He needs to do a 2-day intensive workshop in LA. And I mentioned this to him. I said, I'll come. Yeah. I'll fly to LA as long as he's teaching it. And gets a good. I know he'll get a good crowd together. But yeah,
we'll promote it. We'll get a good crowd. I love it. I need some Jay Suko. I haven't talked to Jay in a bit, so I need some Jay Suko in my life.
I get him once a month, and after
you know what, I should start doing that. Start scheduling calls with him.
I asked him if he coaches improv on a business side. He said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "All right, I want to hire you." He goes, "Okay." And it's been now, maybe it was before the pandemic. So I think it was like back in 2019.
Yeah.
Every month I get an hour of his time, and we talk about a variety of different things, but it helps.
Yeah.
It really does help keep that business side of the improv world in my head. And I think he's also a part-time therapist.
He is. Yes. Life coach, therapist.
Everything good to everyone.
Everything good, right?
Yeah. Part-time social media guru.
Yeah.
Well, Rory, thank you so very much. I greatly appreciate your time. And I can't wait till our paths cross.
Yes.
In person. That'll be a blast.
For sure. Peter, thank you so much for having me on.